Well, hello there and welcome to my videocast on my composition. Now, for my composition, I arranged a song called Roundabout by the composer or the band Yes. It was made in 1971. Amazing song back then. Considering they didn't have all the technology we have today, they did an amazing job getting all the different types of sounds in their piece. So I chose this piece because it was just such an interesting one. I'll give you a short little intro and excerpts from that piece so you know what it sounds like. There's the intro. A very atmospheric intro. Here's the verse.
I'll be the roundabout. The words will make you out.
Which is much more upbeat. Very strong driving bass line there. And here's the bridge.
1 mile over, we'll be there and we'll see you.
So I decided to use this piece because it was just a very, very interesting piece. Within our school, it's also a bit of a cult classic. So students in the school know the piece. They love the piece secretly, which is awesome. So I decided to arrange this into the form of a string quartet as a small ensemble. I chose a string quartet because I am a string player myself. So it's always good to arrange something to an instrument that you know. You know how to write techniques for it. You know how to write for it well because you know how to play the instrument. So let's have a look at my arrangement then. You know what? Before we check out this arrangement, I might just go through what my influences are. So we've chosen the piece, Roundabout by Yes, progressive rock band. They're amazing. But what inspired me more recently has been two other artists. First of all, Aloe Blacc, who's the guy who wrote the song I Need a Dollar. Just because he actually did some gigs with a string quartet.
Well, let tell you something, all that glitters ain't gold. It's been long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load.
And I just thought it was a nice emotional touch to the music. It gave it a great feeling. We won't check out Billie Jean, but Aloe Blacc did a full concert with a string quartet. It's worth checking out how pop music can be delivered using string quartets as their instrumentation, and it's quite effective. The other artist that inspired me a lot was Matthew Heinsohn. He's an Australian composer, a modern Australian composer, who loves to mix classical music with techno or with heavy dance music. And here's an example of that. I checked out this piece about 10 years ago. Very, very interesting piece called Little Christina's Magic Fantasy. It was written for 2 violins, and it just uses a lot of really interesting techniques. So here's an example. Here's the score. Okay, so you can hear it. There's it drives the piece a lot using this kind of semi-quaver pattern. Also, these odd rhythms really drive the piece forward, which I enjoyed, and that's what I tried to do in my composition. So let's check out my one. Here's an arrangement of Roundabout that I did in the form of a string quartet. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that arrangement. I'll go through what I did, how I composed it, what I thought was effective about it, or my intentions anyway. So you can see that I used a lot of different string techniques like tremolo, which gives it a very cold, shivery tone color at the start. It also allows for effective swells, where we can get louder from a very soft dynamic, getting louder and cutting straight back. That's what I tried to do here to simulate what the band Yes did in their recording. We have the cello melody because it's just a rich tone color contrasting that shivery violin and viola tone color we have. So that's the intro. It does wind up, it gets faster as it leads into this aggressive driving section. I decided to use these repeat signs, which basically tells the performer to repeat the bar that they saw last. It's just easier to read for the performer. So let's continue. We'll go through what happens next in this piece. All right. The melody is on the top. I tried to have some swells underneath, some counter melodies. So over here, where we've got the seconds and the viola, they've got a bit of a counter melody, driving the piece forward. And once again, swells using tremolos. I reckon they're pretty effective. Even though MIDI doesn't quite demonstrate it as well as live performers, I think it works pretty well. Just to do a gradual crescendo and a gradual build-up to this point. Now walking bass going down. And here's a bit that I love. I decided to get the violins to play downstrokes or down bows throughout because it gives a more gritty, heavier tone color. Even though they're soft, it still sounds super intense because of using down bows. It's a bit like doing down strums on the guitar. It sounds stronger. Rock and roll use it all the time. After that, they double because the intensity builds up, so we play more notes to try and build up the intensity. By this stage, we've got some harmonies as well. So have a listen. There's the melody in the seconds, and there's also harmonies in the viola part. And it just builds up gradually until it gets to the end where it's double F. Let's have a listen. Right, over here, hits in the cello, giving it that drop, and double time using downstrokes. Okay, so you can see at the end that the texture gradually builds up as well. We start off with just the first violin playing, the melody adds in, the harmony comes in as well, and by this stage you're already playing 4 notes across the 4 instruments. But to build it up even more, we start getting instruments doing double stops, playing 2 notes at the same time, so that one instrument can play 2 sounds at the same time. It sounds even thicker. Pizzicatos and staccatos are pretty short, they're not that thick, so to thicken them up, we started using the bow here in the cello part, as well as alternating notes, so that it sounds like that arpeggiated organ sound from the original music. Towards the end, you can see that, I'll see if I can scroll across to the very, very end. Here we are. You can see that most instruments are playing 2 notes, just to thicken up the sound, to make it super strong. We also added accents throughout these last few notes to make it sound even stronger. So overall, I really enjoyed composing or arranging this piece. I thought it was a good demonstration of how to use a string quartet and how to get all these different types of tone colors, from calm at the start to a very active, very exciting conclusion to the piece. Hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, feel free to check this out on MuseScore. Here's the link, and the link will also be in the description. All right, thank you guys.